She left her toothbrush next to mine. That's how I knew she didn't mean it. She packed her bags with her usual drama, shoving things into her suitcase like she was starring in some indie film about a woman finding herself. She kept tossing words over her shoulder like breadcrumbs. It's not forever, Garren. I just need to breathe. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. But she left her toothbrush. Not even the travel one. The real one, purple, worn down, still damp from that morning. She wanted me to believe she'd come back. And like the idiot I am, I clung to that toothbrush for 2 weeks like it was a promise. The apartment stayed exactly how she left it. Half-zipped suitcase by the door, her hair stuck in the shower drain, a wilted scarf on the couch like she'd just stepped out for groceries. I even cooked her favorite pasta on day 3, thinking maybe she'd walk in and say she changed her mind. That night, I fell asleep sitting up, phone in hand, waiting for a buzz that never came. But this isn't a story about a woman who left. It's a story about a man who finally stopped waiting. The breaking point wasn't her absence. It wasn't even the silence. It was a photo. On day 15, her best friend, bless her impulsive, wine-fueled Instagram habits, posted a story. They were in a dimly lit restaurant, laughing. And there she was, Mallory, in a low-cut red dress I'd never seen before, pressed up against some guy with his hand firmly on her thigh. His face was mostly out of frame, but his watch wasn't. The same gaudy silver monstrosity her personal trainer wore at our old gym. I watched the story on loop until it expired. Then I stared at the toothbrush for a long, long time. That night, I packed a single bag, turned off my phone, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I didn't leave a note. I simply stepped into the world like I never had a home in the first place. No one knew where I went. I drained our joint account. Legally mine, she never contributed, and vanished into a town so boring it barely had internet. I rented a monthly room in a motel where the manager called me sir and never asked questions. For the first time in years, no one needed me. No one expected anything. It was terrifying. It was peaceful. And then, like clockwork, she started calling. New numbers, voicemails, late-night messages that said, "Please, Garren, just tell me where you are." I was stupid. I didn't mean any of it. I miss you. I didn't know what I had. But the most recent one? That one changed everything. That one made my stomach twist in ways I didn't think were possible anymore. Because in that one, she said, "You don't understand. It's not just about us anymore. There's something I have to tell you. Please answer." I haven't called back, but I've played that message 37 times. And the toothbrush? It's still with me, wrapped in a napkin, shoved in the drawer of a nightstand in a motel that smells like bleach and broken promises. I didn't sleep the night I got that voicemail. I laid there staring at the ceiling of that musty motel room while the fan clicked like a slow metronome, each tick reminding me of the voice I couldn't unhear. It's not just about us anymore. That one line burrowed so deep into my brain it felt like it was drilling a hole behind my eyes. What could she possibly mean? She was the one who asked for time apart. She was the one who said she needed clarity. She was the one who walked out with tears that felt practiced, with lines that sounded memorized. Now I was supposed to pick up the phone like nothing had happened? Still, I couldn't help myself. I sat up in bed and replayed the message again. And again, I tried to analyze her tone, searching for any crack that might tell me whether this was guilt, manipulation, or something real. I tried to convince myself not to care, but I failed. The next morning, I shaved for the first time in days. Not because I planned to see her. I just wanted to feel human again. I made coffee using that disgusting instant powder the motel left by the sink. I stared at myself in the mirror, thinner, older, dull-eyed, and I whispered, "You're not calling her back." She made her choice. And I meant it. For about an hour. Then came the knock. I thought it was housekeeping, but it wasn't. It was the motel manager, Joe, Vietnam vet, barely talks, always smells like Old Spice and burnt toast. He handed me a plain envelope and said, "Some lady left this for you." Wouldn't say her name. I froze. I asked when. He said, "Last night." Drove in around 2 a.m., crying. I almost called the cops. I took the envelope with numb fingers and shut the door slowly. I stared at it for so long I forgot I was holding it. There was no name, just my first initial scribbled in blue ink, G. Inside was a single photo. Me and Mallory, smiling, on our porch. It must have been 3 years ago. I had braces still, trying to fix my bite. and she was wearing that stupid oversized cardigan I always hated but she loved. There was a post-it stuck to the back. For words, written in shaky handwriting. Please don't disappear forever. I sat on the floor and laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous it hurt. This woman had erased me from her life, slipped into someone else's arms, and now she was planting clues like I was part of some romantic mystery that needed solving. As if this was a Nicholas Sparks novel and not my actual life. But then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife just a bit more, my phone, which I had turned off for over 2 weeks, lit up on the charger. It turned on automatically, some weird glitch, or maybe I bumped it. And right there, in the flood of missed calls, texts, and voicemails, one notification blinked at me. Mallory, one new voicemail. Timestamp, 2:14 a.m. Same time she dropped off the envelope. Against every ounce of reason in me, I pressed play. This time, there were no tears, no whispering, no drawn-out apologies. Just this. I made a mistake, but there's something you need to know about the man you saw me with. It's not what you think, and it's worse than you think. The message ended there. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My brain went into lockdown mode. What could possibly be worse than cheating? What could she mean? What was she hiding? I went outside for air, gripping the envelope in one hand and the phone in the other. The sun was too bright. The sky felt too open. I suddenly had this terrifying feeling that I had walked into the middle of something far bigger than I understood. And the worst part? I still wanted to hear more. But before I could even sit down again, the phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. But my fingers were already trembling over the answer button. I didn't answer the call. I stared at it until it stopped ringing, until the screen went black again and I saw my own reflection. I looked tired. Not just physically, my face was the kind of tired that lives in your bones, the kind that doesn't go away after a good night's sleep. I had disappeared from everything, left my name, my job, my habits behind. And yet somehow, no matter how far I ran, Mallory's voice kept crawling through the cracks. The voicemail replayed in my head on a loop. It's worse than you think. What the hell could that mean? Worse than betrayal? Worse than seeing the woman you built your life around sitting beside another man with her hand on his chest like you'd never existed? I wanted to believe she was exaggerating, or maybe trying to guilt me into crawling back, but something about her tone in that last message, calm, almost urgent, made my stomach twist in ways I couldn't shake. I spent the next few hours pacing the motel parking lot, trying not to look suspicious. The handful of long-term guests smoked cigarettes and gave me side eyes like I was on the verge of something messy. I probably looked that way too. Disheveled hair, hoodie zipped up to my chin despite the heat, fingers twitching like I was waiting for a storm. Around noon, I finally gave in. I didn't call her. Instead, I called a friend I hadn't spoken to since before I disappeared, Mason. We weren't close anymore, but he worked at a security company and once helped me get out of a situation when someone tried to scam my mom's credit card. I asked him something I never thought I'd say out loud. Can you look up someone for me? Quietly. He hesitated. You in some kind of trouble? I told him I didn't know yet. That was the truth. An hour later, he sent me a link. An address. A name. The man Mallory had been with? Not just her personal trainer. His name was Caleb Hunt. And he wasn't just some random guy she met at the gym. He had a record, not recent, but serious. Domestic violence charge in another state that got buried under technicalities. A sealed court document that Mason barely scraped up. A restraining order filed and quietly withdrawn by a woman whose name didn't appear on any social media. I felt sick. She had told me it wasn't what I thought. And now I realized I didn't have a clue what I was thinking. Mallory might not have just cheated. She might have fallen into something much darker. And worse, she might have dragged me into it without even realizing. I tried not to panic. I tried to tell myself she was fine, that she made her choice, that I had no responsibility to involve myself in her mess. But when you spend 9 years with someone, watching them cry after sad movies, rubbing their back through panic attacks, memorizing how they take their coffee without ever being asked, it's not that easy to flip a switch and walk away. That night, she called again. I answered. It was quiet at first. I could hear her breathing. I could picture her sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, voice cracking as she whispered, "Thank you for picking up." I didn't say anything. My throat had closed up. She went on. I know I don't deserve your time. I know what I did. But I didn't expect him to change. He wasn't like that when we first. Her voice broke. I thought he was exciting. He made me feel things I hadn't felt in years. I didn't realize I was just another project to him. There was a pause. Then she said the words that dropped ice into my spine. He's been following me now, since I left him, and he asked about you. I gripped the phone tighter. What do you mean, asked about me? She sniffled. He found an old photo of us in my things. He got angry. He said your name out loud. He asked where you were. And Garren, her voice dipped to a whisper. He's not done. I ended the call without saying goodbye. Now I'm sitting here with the blinds pulled, the lights off, the motel key clutched in my hand like it can protect me. I wanted to disappear. But it turns out I didn't vanish far enough. The next knock didn't come right away. It came 2 nights later. I hadn't slept properly since Mallory's call. My body was still, but my brain was doing laps in a pool of dread. I had moved the chair under the doorknob like that would do anything if someone really wanted to get in. I even bought a baseball bat from a gas station half an hour away. It still had the price sticker on it, resting beside me like a useless piece of courage. I didn't know what I was expecting. Caleb showing up with rage in his eyes? Mallory arriving with swollen cheeks and a trembling voice? Or maybe just silence forever, which might have been worse. I had replayed the call too many times. The way she said, he asked where you were. How did he even know my name? Did she talk about me after she left? Was it guilt? Was she trying to make him jealous? Or was it something more twisted, a subconscious need to tie him back to the life she walked away from? I didn't have answers, only nausea and paranoia. That night, I sat on the bed with the lights off, watching the shadows through the thin motel curtains. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few beat-up pickups and a rusty sedan that hadn't moved in days. I was going to give myself 10 more minutes, then try to force sleep. I'd made it through worse nights. And then, knock knock. 2 short, sharp taps. Not the lazy kind. Not the wrong room kind. Precise. Intentionally soft, but too exact to be casual. I didn't move at first. I just listened. Waited. Then, slowly, I stood up, holding the bat behind my leg, heart punching against my ribs like it wanted out. I leaned toward the peephole. When I squinting, breath held. At first, I saw nothing. Just the blur of a porch light. Then a figure moved into view, not Caleb. Too small. This was a woman. Alone. Mallory. She looked wrecked. Hair tied back messily, dark circles under her eyes, her once flawless posture now hunched like a kid caught in a lie. She didn't knock again. She just stood there, arms crossed like she was trying to keep herself from unraveling. I opened the door halfway, the chain still on. I didn't say anything. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time in months, she didn't look like someone who had all the answers. I didn't know where else to go, she said. I waited. He showed up at my apartment, she whispered. I had a friend over. Just a friend. He followed me home and waited until I was alone again. Said he missed me. Said I owed him. I could feel my jaw clenching. Call the police. She shook her head quickly. I tried. They made a report. Nothing they can do unless he lays a hand on me. Then leave, I said. Go to your sister's. Go anywhere. I'm scared, she said. And he knows about you. He said he remembered you. That I used to talk about you all the time. He asked if I was hiding with you. I stepped back from the door. Not because I was angry, though I was. Not because I wanted her gone, though part of me did. I stepped back because I realized something terrifying. If she knew where I was, he could too. And suddenly, my disappearing act felt like a ticking clock. I let her in. The room felt smaller with her inside. She sat on the edge of the bed like she didn't belong there, and she didn't. Not anymore. She looked around like she couldn't believe I was living in a place like this. I didn't owe her an explanation. She didn't ask for one. You were right, she said after a while, staring at the wall. About him. About everything. I didn't reply. I just wanted to feel something, she whispered. Something different than safe. And now I'm scared of the thing I thought would save me. I finally sat down in the chair across from her. Why come to me? Because no one else knows me like you do. And because I think you're still the only one he's afraid of. That part hit hard. Not because it flattered me, but because it wasn't true. I was never the strong one. I was the soft one. The quiet one. The easy one to walk over. But if Caleb was dangerous, if she was telling the truth, then I had a choice to make. Stay hidden and hope the storm passed. Or open the door wider, knowing it might blow everything down. I looked at her one more time. You're not staying here, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. Then where do I go? I didn't have an answer. But someone did. Because 5 minutes later, my phone lit up again. Unknown number. One new message. I stared at my phone like it was a live wire. The message came through with no name, no image, Just those 3 words at the top of the screen that punch you in the gut before you even tap them. Unknown number. One new message. I knew it wasn't spam. I knew it wasn't a random wrong number. In that moment, I knew exactly who it was from. It was him. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to throw the phone against the wall, crush it under my foot, break the SIM card, and disappear again. But I couldn't, because Mallory was sitting on the edge of the bed behind me, shaking quietly like a leaf in a thunderstorm. And because the message wasn't just about me anymore. It was about whatever mess she had brought to my door. I opened it. You always were the quiet one, Garren. Still playing the hero? Tell her she's mine again, or I'll come remind you how this ends. That was it. No threats spelled out in detail. No profanity. Just a calm, precise warning. The kind of message that comes from a man who doesn't raise his voice when he gets angry, because he doesn't need to. I read it twice, then 3 more times, as if it might change under my fingers. Mallory must have seen my face because she asked, "Was it him?" I nodded. "What did he say?" "He knows I'm here." She looked down, hands clasped so tight her knuckles turned white. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered. I knew it. I thought maybe he wouldn't really follow. I thought maybe if I ran far enough. There is no far enough for people like him. I interrupted. She didn't argue. I think that scared her more than anything. How I said it like I knew. Because deep down, maybe I did. I'd always been the passive one, the type who avoided confrontation, who apologized even when I wasn't wrong, who let people walk through my boundaries like they weren't there. But when I read that message, I didn't feel fear the way I expected to. I felt something darker. Not anger. Not revenge. Just exhaustion. The kind that settles deep in your soul when you realize running isn't working anymore. "I need to go," I said, standing up. "You're not safe here. Neither am I. Where would we even go?" "I'm not sure. But not here. He's watching." Mallory stood up slowly. "Do you think he followed me already?" I didn't answer. I went to the window and peeked through the blinds. Nothing. The same broken vending machine. The same dim lights humming overhead. No sign of Caleb. But that didn't mean he wasn't out there. I'd learned enough about people like him to know they didn't operate on logic. They didn't need reasons. They just needed opportunities. I packed quickly. I didn't have much. A backpack, a few clothes, a beat-up journal I hadn't touched in weeks. Mallory grabbed her purse and a hoodie, and we slipped out of the room quietly, locking the door behind us like it would matter. We didn't speak on the walk to my car. Her steps were small, careful. My hands were shaking when I started the engine. We drove for hours. Past midnight. Past reason. Into places I didn't recognize. Roads that felt like they belonged in someone else's life. I didn't know where we were going. Only that it had to be somewhere that Caleb hadn't touched yet. Somewhere without memories, without roots, without a trail. Eventually, I pulled into an old roadside lodge. Not much better than the motel we left, but far enough off the map to feel like a hiding place. The woman at the desk didn't ask questions. We paid in cash. She handed over one key and pointed us to the end unit. Mallory was silent as we entered. She sat on the edge of the bed again, the same position as before, like nothing had changed. But everything had. I took the chair. "I shouldn't have come to you," she said, not looking at me. "I just didn't know what else to do. Everyone else is gone. Friends don't answer. My sister says it's my mess to clean up." I didn't say anything. Not because I didn't care, because I didn't know how to respond without reopening every wound we hadn't even begun to close. She turned to me slowly, eyes glassy. "I still don't know why I left you." I looked away. "I do." She blinked. "You do?" "Because I let you. Because I made it easy. Because I never gave you a reason to fight for me." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, then shut it again. Silence. And then my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a video. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering just above the video preview, unsure if pressing play would be a mistake I couldn't come back from. There was no caption. No text. Just a grainy thumbnail frozen mid-motion. Mallory's face turned to the side, caught in what looked like a brief flicker of panic. Behind her, something blurry and metallic. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to see another angle of her betrayal, didn't want a front-row seat to whatever sick game Caleb was playing now. But part of me also knew, if I didn't watch it, I'd be haunted by it even more. So I hit play. The video was shaky, filmed vertically, probably from a phone hidden inside a dashboard or a cup holder. It started in silence. A car door opening. Mallory slipping inside quickly, checking over her shoulder, her body tense like she already felt eyes on her. She didn't speak at first. She just sat in the passenger seat, wringing her hands. Then the camera panned slightly, catching the person next to her, Caleb. Calm. Too calm. Wearing a smug little half-smile like he was directing the scene instead of living in it. You can't keep showing up, she said quietly. His voice was smooth. Cold. Why not? We had fun. You threatened my husband. Ex-husband, he corrected her. She flinched at that. Don't pretend he means nothing, she snapped. That's when it shifted. His voice darkened, not louder, but heavier, like a weight dropped in the middle of the room. You were mine before he ever mattered. You gave yourself to me. You don't get to act like you're someone else's now. Especially not his. He reached over too fast, and she pulled back. The phone rattled slightly as it picked up the sound of her sharp breath. She slapped his hand away, her voice trembling now. I said no, Caleb. I'm not doing this again. I made a mistake. I want out. And then he said something that made my blood freeze. Then I guess Garren pays the price for your regrets. The video cut off. Just like that. I didn't realize I was shaking until I looked up and saw Mallory watching me from the edge of the bed, her arms wrapped tight around herself. She didn't ask what the video said. She already knew. I stood up and walked toward the window, needing to put some distance between me and the suffocating pressure building in the room. I didn't speak for a long time. Just stared out at the parking lot, empty but still somehow threatening, like the world outside had narrowed into one long stretch of danger. Eventually, I turned around. You didn't tell me he recorded you. Her voice cracked. He threatened to show you everything if I went to the police. Everything. She looked away. Was there more? I asked. Mallory hesitated, and then she nodded slowly. He has pictures. Texts. Some of them. From before we split. He said if I didn't stay quiet, he'd send them to you. To my family. To his friends. It hit me like a slow fall. She hadn't just left me for him. She'd been with him while she was still with me. And even though part of me had suspected it for a long time, hearing her admit it pulled the air right out of my lungs. I sat back down, not because I was tired, but because I needed something to hold me up. You were going to let me disappear, I said quietly, without ever knowing the truth. She was crying now, not sobbing, but those quiet, shaking tears that come when guilt finally gets louder than fear. I thought it would be kinder. I thought if I just let you go, maybe you wouldn't have to carry this too. But now I do. I never wanted him to come after you, she whispered. He was never supposed to know about us. I didn't know he was. He was that kind of person. I thought I could control it. End it clean. There's no such thing as clean when it comes to people like Caleb. I got up again. Started pacing. The walls felt too tight. The air too hot. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even find the breath for it. I couldn't figure out what I was more furious about, the betrayal, the danger, or the fact that a part of me still wanted to protect her. I need air, I said, grabbing the keys. I'm coming with you, she said quickly. No, I snapped. No, you're not. Garren, please. But I was already at the door. I stepped outside into the night, letting it hit me full in the face. The air smelled like rain. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled like a low, growling reminder that things were building up, about to break. That's when I saw it. A car, parked across the street. Engine off. Lights off. But the silhouette of a man in the driver's seat, watching. I stood there on the edge of the parking lot, heart slamming against my ribs, staring at the unmoving car across the street. The windows were too tinted to see inside clearly, but I knew someone was in there. I didn't need proof. I felt it. Like the weight of their stare had been pressing against my chest long before I even stepped outside. I didn't know how long he'd been there. I didn't know if it was Caleb. But in my gut, I did. Who else would it be? And for the first time in a long time, I didn't retreat. I didn't run back into the motel and lock the door and pretend the world wasn't falling apart just outside the window. I took a step forward, then another. My palms were sweating, throat dry, legs stiff from fear, but I kept walking. The street between us wasn't wide, maybe 30 feet, but it felt like a mile. As I got closer, the outline in the driver's seat shifted, subtly. The figure turned, as if noticing me only now, as if he wasn't the one who'd been watching first. I stopped 3 feet from his front bumper, squinting into the dark windshield. And then, as if this moment had been rehearsed, the window rolled down halfway. The man inside smiled. It was him. Caleb. I didn't say a word. I waited. He looked at me like someone who had already written the ending and was just watching it play out. Garren, he said, his voice smooth as oil. Didn't think you had it in you. Walking up like this. What do you want? I asked. I think you already know, he replied. She ran off. Lied. Embarrassed me. Made me look weak. You did that yourself, I said. His jaw tightened, just slightly. You don't understand how people like her work. You think you're different, but you're not. She used you. Then she used me. It's what she does. And now she's hiding behind you again, thinking you'll save her. I leaned closer. She's not hiding behind me. You're the one hiding. Sitting in your car like a coward. Something flickered in his eyes. A flash of something feral. You think because you've got her crying in a motel room that you've won? I don't want to win, I said. I just want her safe. He laughed. A quiet, humorless sound. Safe. There's no safe left for her. You don't get to just erase what she did. And what about what you did? I shot back. You filmed her. Threatened her. Stalked her. That's not a man scorned. That's a man unhinged. He leaned forward now, both arms resting on the steering wheel. You know what your problem is, Garren? You keep thinking you're in control. But you're not. You never were. You're the background character in her story, and you always have been. I didn't answer. Because something shifted in that moment. Not in him, but in me. He was trying to provoke me. And maybe before, it would have worked. Maybe back when I was spinning from her betrayal, when my self-worth was tied up in every voicemail she left and every apology she cried through. But not now. Not after seeing her terrified. Not after watching that video. Not after realizing he wasn't just toxic, he was dangerous. I took out my phone and held it up, the screen glowing in the dark. I recorded this, I said. Every word. And if you ever come near her again, I'll make sure every second of it ends up where it belongs. He didn't flinch. He smiled wider. You really think I care what people hear? He asked. No, I said. But I think you care about losing control. And now you know you don't have it anymore. I turned and walked away. It took every bit of strength I had not to look back. Every step back to the motel felt like I was dragging a mountain behind me. I expected him to follow, to yell, to floor the gas pedal and chase me. But he didn't. He just watched. When I got back to the room, Mallory was curled up on the floor by the window, eyes red, phone clutched in her hands like it was a lifeline. She looked up when I came in and tried to speak, but I stopped her. He was outside, I said. We talked. Her eyes widened in horror. What did he say? Enough. Is he gone? For now. She pulled her knees tighter. I'm sorry, Garren. I didn't mean to drag you into this. I know, I said, sitting down beside her. But we're here now, so we deal with it. She looked at me like I was someone she didn't quite recognize. Maybe because I wasn't the same man she left months ago. I didn't feel like him either. That night, we didn't sleep. And in the morning, the consequences of everything we thought we could control came crashing through the door. I don't think either of us slept that night. Mallory dozed off once or twice, but her body twitched at every creak from the hallway, every distant car door, every gust of wind pushing against the motel window. I stayed up, not out of fear that had already hardened into something else, but because I knew in my gut we were reaching the end of whatever this had become, one way or another. The sun came up like it didn't know the night had nearly broken us. The motel light flickered out. Outside, the world kept moving like it always does, unaware of the war going on in a rented room tucked behind a broken vending machine. I watched it all unfold from the chair by the window, jaw tight, phone in hand, waiting for Caleb to make his next move. But he didn't. Not that morning. Not the next day. Not the one after. Instead, the silence grew longer. Mallory started sleeping through the night. She stopped jumping at shadows. She began talking again, not about love or forgiveness, but about therapy, about filing a real report, about building a case, about facing the fallout with her family, her friends, herself. And me? I stayed. Not because I forgave her. Not yet. Maybe not ever in the way she hoped. But because I could see the truth in her eyes now, not just regret, but the weight of someone finally choosing to take responsibility. I wasn't there to rescue her. I wasn't there to rekindle anything. I stayed because walking away from her again would have been too easy, and I wasn't that version of myself anymore. 3 weeks later, she went to the police. She brought the video, the texts, the voicemails, my recording of Caleb's threats. Mason even helped her get a lawyer through someone he knew. And Caleb? He vanished the moment he caught wind of it. No more messages. No parked car. No smug grin in the shadows. It's like he knew the game was up. She offered to leave town. Said she didn't want to make me carry her mess. But I asked her to stay, not because I was still in love, but because we were finally dealing with everything we had run from. Together. No lies. No rewriting the past. Now, months later, I'm writing this from a different place, literally and figuratively. We moved into a small house 2 towns over. Separate rooms. Separate routines. We're not together. Not like before. But there's peace between us. Real peace. She volunteers at a crisis center now, helping women who've been through what she almost didn't survive. I go to therapy twice a week and work remote again, but on my terms. Sometimes she cries at night. Not for Caleb. Not even for me. But for the person she used to be, and the version of me she shattered. And on those nights, sometimes I still sit by her door and listen, just to remind myself how far we've come. She needed space. I gave her the universe. And when she found her way back, not as my wife, not as my regret, but as a flawed human being trying to make things right, I realized something I never expected. Some endings aren't about revenge. Some endings are about finally choosing peace. And for the first time in a very long time, I'm okay with that.